What is something illegal that should 100% be legal? Putting money into other people's parking meters. Where is this illegal? I'd love to break this law. Edit. Thank you everyone for the upvotes. More than I've ever gotten. I'm going to go add change to the meters on my street now. Donations from food going bad should not be more expensive than throwing it away. A big market chain CEO from Portugal told that to the news. This to me is one of the most disgusting business practices. Cause it's not just food. It's any good. All that waste. Just because someone didn't buy it fast enough. I've thrown away entire houses worth of material. Just because it didn't meet sales expectations. Or because someone ordered it. Then cancelled. And the warehouse doesn't want it back. Just had to throw out 5k worth of designer clothing because of very minimal flaws. If I could have kept anything I would taken it or at least donated it. Isn't this what outlet stores are supposed to be for? It's common among design labels to destroy unsold stock specifically to prevent it from being sold at clearance prices. It's considered harmful to brand image to have it sold cheap. The fact it's expensive isn't just a matter of pricing. It's often a selling point to the normal customers that it costs so much. Whistleblowing on the government killing civilians. Do you want to be imprisoned without a fair trial? Because that is how you get imprisoned without a fair trial. Literally all it takes is a police chief or sheriff declaring you a terrorist to lose all your constitutional rights. It's funny that you say that. It literally has always been like that in America. Ever watch those old westerns where they declare people outlaws? I've talked to a lot of friends about this, and most people think it's someone who broke the law and has a warrant out for their arrest. No, it's way worse than that. It means you are outside of the law, as in you are not protected by any laws. So anyone can steal, kill, even rape you, and it's 100% legal. Same shit. Different words. Except they imprison you, and you have no constitutional rights. They just don't leave it in the hands of bounty hunters anymore. They now have the numbers, technology, and infrastructure to do everything themselves, and no one can do much about it because they are the ones who also enforce the law. Emulation of video games when the game publisher has not used it in forever. But for any copyrighted work. If it hasn't been used commercially in say 10 years, then it should be able to be used freely. Points fingers at Disney and Nintendo. Alternatively, we could just shorten copyright to like 14-20 years and be done with it. Copyright law is deeply flawed, but at its root it is a protection intended for individuals, specifically writers, who theoretically deserve to profit from their life's work for life. That's almost never how it's used these days. Perhaps a better system would limit copyright to individuals. Corporations actually use it to usurp the rights of individual creators, who forfeit ownership of their work in exchange for a contractual pittance. Copyleft is actually kinda cool. It allows for free non-commercial use with due credit, but that doesn't help the creator make a living. I'm fine with them being able to use it for life, as long as it is still being sold by the original copyright owner. If I want to go buy a copy of Pokemon Yellow, then I really can't. It has been out of production for years. Sure, a digital version is sometimes available. I haven't actually checked in a while, so maybe I should, because I don't give a GB to play my physical copy, which I actually have still, but it works well enough as an example. The copyright holder should have the product available, new, and for sale even if digitally, or it should go public after some time. Edit. Yes, Pokemon Yellow is available digitally. It was apparently a bad example. Comment deleted by the Turkish government. Nothing. Pouring water on fires. Where is that illegal? Turkey, you right to jail. Right away. Pharmaceuticals being able to renew a patent indefinitely under what excuse, thereby preventing a generic and affordable version becoming available. There's no need for 28 years after a pill hits the market. Whistleblowing. We as a society should make it a much higher priority that people who uncover corruption and illegal activities should be rewarded or at least protected. Sleeping in your car in a parking spot for an extended period of time. What are they expecting? People who are sleepy to be out driving. In fact, just the crime of loitering and sleeping anywhere public. I understand if a guy is sleeping somewhere inconvenient, that he should move. But seriously, if a guy is just napping in the middle of a park, leave them alone. Those laws only exists because we have a chronic hatred of the homeless, and punishing them with pinpricks is a lot easier than giving them a place to live. When I was younger, I was traveling across the US, and to save money I would just sleep in my car. I would pick 24-hour Walmarts, park somewhere near the end under a lamppost, and sleep. That was illegal. Dang it, I got lucky. Actually, that's one of the few good things about Walmart. They're okay with overnight guests. My grandparents used Walmart parking lots frequently when they were road tripping around the country in a fifth wheel. Some locations even had hookups for trailers apparently. Fixing your own stuff. Wasn't there some guy who was fixing iPhones and I think other Apple products, and Apple sued the absolute shit out of him? Louis Rossmann. He's the one who's trying to get a rule into American law about it. Europe, we're making headways on it too. But there's a lot to do still. Exposing the government. In my town it's illegal to park in a spot facing outward. It's park facing in, or get a ticket. I think that's kinda silly. Parody. Technically speaking it's legal, but big companies will still attack you for it and demand a takedown. I've seen lots of small groups of creators shut down by Nintendo saying to stop. Photos of the Eiffel Tower at night. I just remember watching this video link years ago. Copying or pirating video games you already own, such as if the original disc is scratched, if it's an old school game on CD DVD. Psilocybin. Depending on the state, single party consent for recording conversations. I'm torn on this one for privacy reasons. I think it would work if possessing the recording is legal, but distributing it isn't. That way it could still be used for legal purposes without the privacy concern. 18-year-olds drinking. If you pay taxes, can vote, can own a gun, and can join the army, you should be allowed to buy a beer. Laughs in South American. Laughs in almost every country except the US. Here in Russia, at 18 years old we already quit alcohol and start building our lives. Sometimes I think public nudity should be legal because the idea of being arrested from someone seeing your natural human body is preposterous. But then I imagine an old homeless guy's balls resting on the seats at Starbucks and I reconsider. Prostitution. I may not agree with it, but outlawing it is inconsistent with the overall principles that America claims to believe in: do what you want, as long as you are consenting and not harming anyone else. It's legal and regulated in Switzerland. I tell you, any way that money can be made in Switzerland is legal. The government wants its taxes. Be right back. Going to Geneva. Is there a convention happening sometime soon? Euthanasia. I agree that everyone should have the right to die with dignity, but I personally think that it should only be legalized with the condition that it can't be covered by insurance. You shouldn't give insurance companies the ability to suggest assisted suicide as an option, rather than an expensive treatment course that may save a patient's life. Finance shouldn't be a factor in whether or not you decide to die. That's some forward thinking. As looking through a weird subreddit, I can conclude that there is no law going against human flesh, but you would have to break several laws to acquire it. Watching porn in India. It's illegal. WTF. What kind of punishment can one face for this? Why do you think the internet has a high population of horny Indian men? I honestly never gave the why much thought. Loitering. I just wanna hang out. Why do you have to call the cops? Being homeless. I spent 7 years on the streets and have been arrested so many times for crimes made up to victimize the homeless. 4 times I was arrested for obstructing a footpath. Then I walked past a police station that completely blocked the footpath with personal cars, 1 or 2 official vehicles. I went into them with a rage and pointed out that I have been in a cell for a cumulative number of days for this offense. They insisted it did not apply to vehicles. I did not budge until someone went out with me and agreed to move some cars. No one was arrested. Every single person had to walk on the busy road to avoid the police. Never did I ever obstruct anyone when I was tucked away in a doorway. The US drinking age should be 18, and it is weird that it is still 21. I say this as someone from the UK who enjoyed a sober Vegas trip because he was 20 at the time. You make porn and have a gun if you're over 18 in the US, but you can't drink. At 18 a girl can be filmed with a bottle of wine inside her, but can't drink it. Selling's legal. Ducking's legal. Why isn't selling ducking legal? George Carlin. People under the age of 18 being allowed to make their own medical decisions without their parents' guardians being privy to them. And before folks jump down my throat, I'm not talking about young kids like 5 years old. I'm talking 13+ year olds. Possibly older. One of my friends in high school had horrible periods. She'd be in horrible pain, throw up, pass out, etc. starting when she was 12. At 15 she was formally diagnosed with endometriosis and her pediatrician recommended she be put on birth control to help with the symptoms. Her parents said no, because birth control is sinful, and made her suffer till she was 18, and could get away from them to get on it. If she had been given control over her medical decisions, it could saved her years of immeasurable pain and suffering and issues with fertility long term. Being slightly off on your taxes. Mistakes happen and we can't all have an accountant. Playing music I paid for. Assisted suicide. Obviously heavily regulated and performed with great care, and require a good reason for, like terminal illness. Collecting rainwater. I thought this whole thing had to do with someone that basically created a small lake out of rainwater he collected, and it ended up messing with the ecosystem in some way, so he got fined and had to get rid of it. So now people ended up saying you can't collect rainwater because of it. But I think, as long as you're not actively disrupting anything, then it's fine. Honestly, I'm just going off my memory and things I've seen in the past regarding this. So if someone with more time and interest in this wants to correct me on anything, then go ahead. Prostitution. If it's between two consenting adults, it really shouldn't be a problem. Legalizing it would also help battle against the shady side as well through regulation. Yep. It also protects prostitutes. In countries in Europe, where prostitution is legal, the people who do it can report anybody who would hit them or assault them in any way. The clients are also aware they could face legal repercussions, so they might be less likely to hurt a prostitute. Non-violent drug offenses. Being gay in certain countries. Assisted suicide. If people want to die, it should be legal and safe. A place where you can go to make sure it's not botched, where it leaves you alive in much worse condition. Like a room you go in, and they slowly replace the air with nitrogen, so you don't feel like you're suffocating. You get lightheaded and pass out, but you never get that stuffy, choking feeling you get when you're holding your breath or choking. As a result, people will pass out without realizing that something is wrong. They could give you a pipe with some opium to smoke before, so you get high, then just go to sleep and never wake up. Not illegal per se, but in a gray area. Cops doing no-knocks or legitimately threatening your life and not being able to defend yourself. Remember some video of a poor kid crying while given confusing commands with the police officer yelling at him to crawl with his hands and feet behind his back and then unloading on him. Duck that. People should have all leeway to defend themselves against that tyranny and not get lambasted in court. Criticizing Israel. Several countries have made it illegal to criticize Israel. Here in my country, gay marriage. Feeding the homeless. Drugs. When you stop treating drug abusers as criminals and start treating them like medical patients with the disease which they are. Actual improvement as the result. Throwing someone in jail for years with no treatment and likely abuse by the system. They're just going to go right back to their drug habit when they get out. These aren't bad people. They're sick people. Weed.